Hello! In today's video we're going to be talking about the Kill Team Typhon rules previews that went live on Warhammer Community earlier today. So, I'm going to start with the Venom Spitter data card. So this is the range specialist for the Raveners that they've given us. 3 APL, obviously, 7-inch move, respectable, a 5-up save, but 20 wounds. 20. That's quite a lot of wounds. So, okay, we've got the pincer tail, the venom bolt focus, and the scything talons. Scything talons is a relatively mild melee attack, so five dice hitting on 3s, 4, 5, like with no special rules. It's not bad, but it's not like utterly monstrous. Now, the only reason I bring this up is because when we did the 40k data cards and we looked at those and we looked at how they put together, all the Raveners have the same melee attack, and then just one had a ranged attack as well. I think obviously it's the Kill Team version. The Venom Spitter is going to have the worst melee attack, and I'd expect the ones that are just melee to have a better melee attack. So in terms of ranged weapons, he has 3 different ones to choose from. He's got his little pincer tail, which is a range 3 silent attack. 4 dice hitting on 3s, 3, 4. That's like a little gimmicky nice to have, right? That little whole tail going through the neck thing. That's fine, yeah. And then the big thing he's all about is the Venom Bolt, which has a blast and a focus profile. So in each case, it's 4 dice hitting on 3s, 3, 5 on the blast, but you get that 2-inch blast. And then 4, 5 on the focused and piercing 1, but no blast. They are range 8, and they have the poison special rule. So the poison special rule is in the resolve attack dice step. If you inflict damage with any critical successes, the operative's weapon is being used against gains a poison token if it doesn't already have one. And whenever an operative that has one of your poison tokens is activated, D3 damage. So we've seen this sort of thing before. That's pretty cool. And then what makes the gun especially good is this should that be distended? Distend dorsal sack for 1 AP. Until the operative is shot with its Venom Bolt, or until it performs the Burrow action, whichever comes first, all profiles of its Venom Bolt have the lethal 5-up weapon rule, have 1 added. All profiles of its Venom Bolt have the lethal 5-up weapon rule. Until this operative is shot with its Venom Bolt, or until it performs the Burrow action, whichever comes first, all profiles of its Venom Bolt have the lethal 5-up weapon rule, have 1 added to their attack stat, and the range 8 weapon rule removed. Okay, but what's 1 AP? I think that 1 AP on there must be a typo. It just seems like this is just a rule. You know, this is just a rule that it has. There's a buff that it has that means that its guns don't have a buff until they've shot 1 time or until it burrows. I'm really not sure why 1 AP is in the header for the yeah, we'll ignore that it's there. So fine. So you have 1 long range attack that's potentially going to be 4, 5 lethal 5-up, 4 dice hitting on 3, 5 dice hitting on 3s. That's pretty good. Okay, that's pretty good. Very good, in fact. And then just one other thing for the Venom Spitter. It does say down here, the Venom Bolt is one of the best all-round guns in the game, and since the rest of the team's ranged attacks cap out at 6-inch range and 4 damage, the Venom Spitter will be an essential tool for board control. So the reason I mention that is just because it is confirmed that the other Raveners, or at least some of the other Raveners, will have access to other ranged attacks. So this guy isn't literally your only ranged attack, but it's the only one with a range greater than 6. Okay. So then we get onto the tunnel thing, which is, there's a lot here. So in the sort of free text part of the article, they said the tunnel, and tunnel is in bold, is a path you carve across the battlefield. In each turning point, the tunnel can extend up to 5 inches, meaning it can comfortably probe deep into the battlefield, and then burrow is the action that lets the team pop into and out of the tunnel, which comes at the expense of 2 inches of movement and 1 action point, but on a team with 3 APL and 7 inches of movement, it's worth the trade-off. So we don't have, I'll read the burrow action in a minute. We don't have all the bits of this that we need to understand it, basically. We don't know how, like, if we look at the burrow action, just look at the picture. The tunnel seems to be going between some markers. We've got a 0, a 1, a 2, and a 3. And it seems to have the same width as those markers. We don't know how big they are. They might be standard kind of 20mm kill team markers, maybe. And we don't know what the rules are for placing them. Is it just going to be you pop down? I mean, I'd guess, is it like pop down 0 in your deployment zone when you deploy, and then in your first, I mean, I'm speculating, in your first strategy phase, you pop down 1 up to 5 inches away from 0 in a straight line, and then in your next strategy phase, you can pop down 2 up to 5 inches away from 1 in a straight line, and then you pop down 3 up to 5 inches from 2 in a straight line in your third strategy phase. And then the tunnel kind of has to zig between 0, 1, 2, 3. And then maybe you don't get a fourth one because in turning point 4 because you don't need it. Don't really know though. That could be it. So let's look at burrow. For 1 AP, if you're underground, you've set up on the tunnel in a location it can be placed. It's no longer underground, and it can come up at control range. Until the end of the activation, it has 2 less movement. Alternatively, instead of resolving the above effect, if the operative is in the kill zone on the tunnel, you can put it underground. You can't use it while using a marker. And then operative A is on your tunnel, so you don't have to be wholly on the tunnel. You just have to be kind of slightly overlapping the tunnel, as it's on the area between 0 and 1. Operative B is also on your tunnel, as it's touching a tunnel marker, okay? Operative C is not on the tunnel, because the tunnel doesn't go between 1 and 3. Like, probably in practice it's easier than it at first appears, but I think, especially for me, visualizing where the tunnel's going to be is going to kind of suck. And I'm going to be constantly asking my opponent, like, oh, is your tunnel here? Is it here? Is it here? Let's get the laser line out, and like, this is this side of 0 to 1, this is this side of 0. Just kind of dumb. No, I'm sure it's not dumb. I'm sure that's not fair. I'm sure it's actually quite, like, cool, and maybe once you start playing with it a bit, it's intuitive. Your opponent's going to have to be super vigilant about where they leave their models, but, like, if you can tunnel under objectives, then, like, it's easy to say you just ignore the tunnel, but then obviously you've got to be on the objectives, so if the tunnel comes near the objectives, then you can't just avoid the tunnel. And if the tunnel goes out 5 inches every turn, which is what we imagine, then that's quite a lot of the table, potentially. But they're kind of like Aquilons, aren't they? They're kind of their ability to... They're like Aquilons if Aquilons could go back into space, you know? I don't know what I think about this tunnel mechanic. It is cool. It's just a little bit of a brain shaker, a little bit, right? You know? I'm just trying to get my head around it. Yeah. I think we need. There's no point in trying to fully understand its ramifications until we have the whole. We're definitely missing pieces of the puzzle, I think, when it comes to the tunnel. Now, how's this going to interact with Into the Dark and Beta Decim? Because I presume you're going to be allowed to tunnel under the walls and into the dark, and you're gonna how's it going to work on Beta Decima? I mean, I know nobody likes Beta Decima, but it's worth thinking about. Like, you got this impassable puddle in the middle. Do you tunnel under the to cut the corner on? It seems like it's super weird on Beta and kind of pointless on Beta Decima, where not that much of the battle takes place at ground level. Like, presumably you are stuck on ground level. Yeah, yeah, weird one. And then if you're on any kind of third party terrain where someone's got more like bridges and walkways than the average like normal table, then like that's also kind of weird, isn't it? Yeah, don't know. Other rules. So it told us a whole lot. Predatory instincts then is another team-wide special rule that they have. So it, along with providing Raveners the ability to fight twice per activation, it also allows to change their order and burrow for free during counterattacks. Just think, a Ravener charges 9 inches to tie up a couple of operatives, dispatches them in melee, survives a retaliatory shot, and then as a counter, I guess, to shoot back and hop on the ground again. Nasty stuff. So they all have natural fight twice, which I guess we could have assumed, and they can burrow back into their tunnel for free as part of their counteract, in addition to doing whatever the 1 AP action is that they were going to do during their counteract. That's interesting, isn't it? I feel like that might be quite strong, right? I feel like that might be quite strong, that ability to burrow back under. But the reason I'm sounding so cagey is because it's challenging to know what to think about it when you haven't got the full rules. And then we got this snippet here. Even with 20 wounds each, a 5-up save leaves the Raveners vulnerable to high volume fire and chip damage. But there are still ways to balance this out. Tunnel Lurkers is a strategic ploy that pairs extremely well with the Chromatospore camouflage equipment. All of a sudden, 5-up saves aren't so bad when you're retaining 2 before rolling any dice. This combo does assume the operative is standing on their tunnel, but most of the team's utility requires that anyway. So we're going to imagine that Tunnel Lurkers is a strategic ploy that says you gain cover when you're on your tunnel, right? And Chromatospore camouflage is equipment that says when you retain a save because you're in cover, you're going to retain 2 instead. Yeah, that's an interesting one, especially given the size or the imagined size of these Raveners. I don't know, other than by this Tunnel Lurkers rule, how often they're going to be retaining a cover save, but there we go. Well, no, they haven't got any kind of rule that says light, like a barricade doesn't give them cover, have they? So even though it looks kind of dumb, I guess they haven't got like we didn't see on this, we didn't see like the Ogrin big guy type rule, did we? So even though they're on a 40 mil base and quite massive, I guess they get to claim cover from light terrain. That's interesting. Interesting. And then we've got this little bit of blurb about the Tremor Scythe. The Tremor Scythe operative is a nasty piece of board control, as you can keep the Raveners underground to maintain the threat of an outrageous charge and interrupt any enemy foolish enough to stray close to the tunnel. So interrupt any enemy foolish enough to stray close to the tunnel. So does the Tremor Scythe get to jump out the tunnel in the opponent's turn? Don't underestimate the length of the tunnel either. In a straight line, it can get well into enemy territory by the late game. Yes, I think it's going to be like 5 inches a turn at the first 3 turning points. The team may struggle for board presence in the early game and could suffer if they lose an operative early, but all of the tunnel synergy and explosiveness in combat will be enough to turn the tide of a lot of battles. I really don't like that they're all about this tunnel, but then that's obviously what Games Workshop decided to do. It's like, yeah, tunnel. You gotta tunnel, or you're not playing the thing. You can't just go, I've got 5 dice and they're pretty good. We gotta obsessively tunnel. Not only do I not like the tunnel, and therefore not. I mean, I didn't want to play. You've seen my previous video. I didn't want to play the Raveners anyway, but like, I don't really want to play against them. But you know, such is life. Not because I think they look obviously powerful from what we've seen. Like they're probably fine, just because it's a really abstract thing because it's just going to be these circles on the map. And you're going to have to constantly, like, imagine the tunnel stretching between the circles in the right order. And I'm just pretty bad at, I'm pretty bad at seeing where my lines of sight are. I'm just going to have to be constantly thinking, oh, yes, this tunnel is here, and if I stand there, then this guy can pop out and do that thing. I think it's one of those things where if you're capable of learning, it's going to be a bit like the Aquilons. I don't think it's going to be as bad as the Aquilons, but do you know how people say about the Aquilons that if you, and I never did, I get thrashed by Aquilons frequently, or as frequently as people use them. But like people say, oh, if you learn to like zone out the Aquilons so they can never come down and do anything to you, then they're pointless. I get the impression that some really high level players will learn how to zone out the Raveners, maybe so they never get to do this sort of stuff, but not necessarily me. But it depends, like I said, how limiting the placement of those tunnel circles actually is. And then we got Ride Out of Sight, which is pretty straightforward. It's a strategic ploy. It says, few organisms are as capable of slithering away into darkness in the blink of an eye as the Raveners. The question is, where did they go? Select one friendly Ravener operative. That friendly operative can immediately perform a free burrow action. If it's within 2 inches of your tunnel, it can perform a free fallback or reposition before it does so. This is the color coding on this would tell us it was a strategic ploy. Sounds like a tactical ploy, but I guess it happens in the strategy phase. So you get to, at the start of your turn, hide one of your guys in the tunnel, which is pretty good, because that means that from the very start of that turn, if you didn't have anyone underground, you're now instantly going, well, yeah, anywhere you stand, I've got a guy, he's not activated yet, he's in his tunnel, he's gonna like burst out of his tunnel anywhere where he can, and get to do a, and get to attack you, which can we? Sorry. So you pop out, you lose 2 inches of movement and an AP. You set up a control range, and you can still charge and fight. Like, so even if somebody's not in the tunnel, you. Can you do a wait? So can you do, because a charge is plus 2 inches of movement. So could you pop out the tunnel and then do a 7-inch charge? That's basically going to be the whole board, isn't it? And granted, then you're an AP down, so then you're going to charge and fight once and not fight twice. So if someone's near enough that you don't have to do the charge, I guess you get to fight twice. But, like, it seems pretty grim, I have to say. Yeah, so this Ride Out of Sight lets you threaten that tunnel charge nonsense. But then it's only going to be that bad, I guess, in Turning Point 3, where the tunnel is, like, everywhere. In Turning Point 1, the tunnel's just going to be, like, 5 inches out of the deployment zone, probably. Yeah. It's one of those things where I guess I play against it to really understand how it's going to go. But it seems interesting, but hard to visualize. Yeah. And don't forget, Ride Out of Sight is going to cost you a CP. Yeah. And then we're on to the servitors. Now, disappointingly, in my opinion, they haven't given us a generic servitor data card. So we can't begin to understand how the generic servitors are going to look. What we've got here is a APL3 servitor underseer with a 6-inch move, a 3-up save, and 9 wounds, which is pretty good. Don't think they're all going to have 9 wounds, but we'll see, right? They could do. It's not outside the realms of possibility. Then we've got a master-crafted radium pistol, which 4 dice, hit on 3s, 2-4, range 8, balanced and rending, not bad. And then data spikes, 3 attacks hitting on 5s, 2-3, pretty bad. And then what he's mainly for is he's got these utility pieces. So he can do new spherical. I'm going to read Network Override first. So Network Override is 1 AP. Select one friendly Battlecade Servitor within 6 of this operative, or a friendly Battlecade Auto Proxy operative. Now, just a grammar check. Is that select one friendly Battlecade Servitor operative within 6 of either? So it's either it's within 6 of this operative, or within 6 of a Battleclade auto proxy operative. Presumably you can select the Battleclade auto proxy as being a Battleclade servitor within 6 of itself, what one assumes, right? To immediately network counteract, you don't have to transfer power to do so. Now, we don't have the text of network counterattack, and we don't have the text of transfer power, but as far as we can glean from this page, not this page, they just don't really properly explain it. Right, fine. As far as I can glean from the article, I haven't pasted the relevant section, but it basically seems to be the case that your servitor, any servitor, I'm sure they did say this in the article, I just missed it on the slides. Any servitor can spend an action point, which is called transfer power, to do network counteract, which seems to be that any servitor can spend an AP and then another service or somewhere else can immediately do a 1 AP action, right? So you've got your 8 servitors, including your massive gun servitors. And so does that mean that every activation you can go, okay, my servitor with a little candle and a poker is going to do 1 AP to make me shoot this round with my gun servitor again. And that's the team. It's just that I'm shooting with this gun servitor every activation until you inevitably kill the gun servitor. Probably not, because it does say somewhere in the article like, oh, subject to some other restrictions, but we ain't telling you what they're going to be, right? So what does network override do? Well, network override lets the underseer do that, right, instead of a servitor doing it. Presumably, with less limitations. There's some limitations that aren't there when a servitor does it. Presumably it's better in some way. I don't know. And then he's got another ability, Newspheric Spur, 1 AP. Select the servitor within 6 of this operative or the auto proxy, and the servitor can immediately dash. You can't select each friendly servitor operative of this rule more than once per turning point. So he's activating, maybe he's moving, and then he's going to say, right, that servitor over there is going to shoot, and then it's going to dash away. Is that good? Does that feel like an impactful activation? Or maybe you're going to dash with your Sherrick Spur, and then you're going to tap a point, pick up a box, whatever you're doing. Is that good? Like, I understand what he does, but until I see the whole team, I don't really understand how it works in context. Okay? But that seems to be, and I realise I've explained a lot of stuff that's not totally in evidence from the card that I presented on the screen. I do apologise for that. I think there's another little bit in the article that I've missed out. But that seems to be the thing of the servitors. And it seems to be that the generic servitors, reading between the lines slightly, can transfer power, which allows another servitor within 6 to, who knows, to network counteract, which is perform a 1 AP action. But again, with some other limitations, and we don't know what they are. Presumably, you can't just fire your big gun every turn, every activation. So big gun activates and moves and shoots, and then a combat servitor activates and the big gun shoots, and then another combat server activates, a big gun shoots, the underseer activates, a big gun shoots. That might be a bit oppressive, but then also, if that is how they work, if that is the strategy, then all your opponent has to do is kill your big gun, and then they go, well, now the whole rest of your team is just this engine for piling APL into this one guy and making him do out of activation shooting. So, I don't know. Interesting. Let's see what else that we've got here. So we've got Newspheric Possession. Whenever a friendly Battleclade servitor operative within 6 of a friendly Battleclade auto proxy or underseer The friendly servitor weapons have the accurate 1 special rule. For the purpose of the support rule and the comms device equipment, the auto proxy or servitor underseer operative must control your comms device marker to add 3 to its distance requirement for this rule. So it says here, the strongest guns on the team will hit on a 4-up. So even though the underseer hit on 3s, your regular servitors are going to hit on 4s. So having accurate 1, hitting on 4s with accurate 1 is probably a reasonable thing. They're really hard on you taking the comms device to buff that 6 to a 9, but of course that means that your auto proxy or underseer is kind of parked on that comms device, or both of them, because you can get two comms devices. I don't ever use the comms device in anger. Do you get 2, or is it just 1? Pass. I'm not a fan of ideas that it's like, oh, we've given this team a big weakness, it's hitting on 4s, and then we're going to let you mitigate that weakness if you like fulfill the conditions of a mini game. I'm not the biggest fan of that bit of game design, because you just start doing a thing and you're like, oh, I've got this guy here, so I'm going to use this CP, and then this guy's within this, and then I've got accurate 1, and your opponent's just looking at you like, you're not playing it at the point with which you're trying to like measure and organize your numeric possession. You're not playing the game against your opponent for that little bit of narration. You're just trying to play the team, like make the team's engine turn with itself, and that's like as an opponent, when the other person starts bobbling off and they're always saying it, and I do this as well when I'm playing this kind of thing in a game, you'll say it with an air of, I'm doing this. Subtext, I think I'm doing this right. Does that sound right to you? I don't want to accidentally cheat. And then the other player's just looking at me with a look of, got no idea what all them words are, mate. You just tell me what you're doing, and if it doesn't sound like really absurd, then I'm just going to be like, yep, that's sure to be your rules. So in other words, you're playing against servitors, and they're going to be like, and I've got comms here, and he's standing there, and he's doing this and that and this and that. And I spend a CP, and now my 4-up guy has accurate 1, and I'll be like, yeah, sure, that happened. I don't know. It's not. It doesn't seem like the most engaging kind of rule when they do this, but Techno-archaeologist. So one of the most compelling aspects of the team is the role of the techno-archaeologist. The step which leads the team into battle, other than having the leader keyword, they're very much working independently outside the network of other operatives. They're capable of keeping themselves safe, scoring their own points, and dealing plenty of damage when they need to. I'm not sure I find that compelling. It might be powerful, it might be necessary, it might be strong, it might be a lot of things, but is it compelling that you have this kind of really integrated squad with your sub leader and his like little Vox guy, and they're all doing this weird stuff, and then occasionally you'll be like, oh, I'm going to act a techno-archaeologist, and he's going to go over there and shoot you in the face. Is that compelling? I don't know. I don't find that particularly compelling. I think that's just like a thing where he's just running around doing stuff. Nothing wrong with that. And hopefully he's pretty strong, and his gun's pretty powerful, and he just does stuff because he's a tech priest. But I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe it means that what you're going to try and do is use your techno-archaeologist as a distraction kind of effects, so that he's also a threat doing things over here, so that your opponent's not trying to dismantle your fragile little. Because if your underseer dies, you're probably screwed. If your what was it called? If your auto proxy dies, you're probably screwed. And so you've got this guy with his presumably short range gun running up, going, "Yeah, I'm doing this. I'm hitting you with my servo arm. I'm doing stuff. You're gonna have to deal with me as well." Maybe that's the thing, right? It's just like a little distraction kind of effects to stop your engine being dismantled. Yeah. And then we're given some other rules here. So duty of reclamation, which is a strategic ploy. Once per action, you can use the command reroll firefight ploy for 0 CP if the attack or defense dice was rolled for a friendly battlefield operative that contests an objective marker or a mission marker. Yeah, like every turn, maybe not the first turn, but like what? So I can have a free reroll as long as my guy is on an objective or a mission marker. I can have a free reroll every action. So multiple free rerolls in an activation, multiple free. No, now the thing of you've used your command reroll, you can't have another one. It's gone. I'm just saying multiple rerolls during the turning point, multiple rerolls during one guy's activation because it's once per action potentially. In your activation, just whenever, right? Because defense dice as well. Yeah, I say that's probably worth the CP for sure. Yeah. And then they've got these neurocyclic reserve cells. So, after revealing the equipment option, this is equipment. Roll 1d3. A number of times during the battle equal to the result. Whenever you transfer power, you can use this rule. If you do, don't subtract 1 from the operative's APL stat, but you can't perform fight or shoot actions during the activation. So you're going to have a servitor. It's going to give up 1 of its APL to let another servitor do something. If you have this, then 1 to 3 times that you do that, you effectively have generated an extra APL, but the servitor transferring power can't fight or shoot, but it could move and dash, but presuming they have 2 APL. They might have 1 APL, which would be funny, but it could move and dash, or it could move and interact with an objective, do a mission action. Open a door would probably be pretty powerful, right? So yeah, I guess you always take the. It's kind of. Why didn't they just make it 2? Why didn't they just go twice per game? Twice during the battle. You can do this. That would be better than D3, surely. But because then they could balance it and they could put it down to 1 if they needed to, or up to 3 if they needed to, and it would be a lever that they could pull as part of the balance sort of thing. But yeah, it's probably strong. But is it just again giving a disadvantage and then giving you a way to play against yourself to remove the disadvantage? Am I I don't know. Am I moaning about nothing here? Is this just really standard game design? This idea that sometimes they seem to cause a problem and then give you a tool to try and solve the problem, but you're just playing against the team that you're playing. You're not playing against your opponent in that moment. And this just seems like another kind of example of that. Like, oh, I only rolled a roll for my neurocytic reserve cell. So now when I do this, I'm only able to do this one time. And now I've done this thing. So now he doesn't lose an APL. So now he can go over there. And you're probably just going to be like, yeah, man, you can go over there and then claim that. And then this guy can shoot me. You said a lot of words, but I understand what you're doing. So that's fine. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Final thoughts. So they seem like a pair of really complicated teams. I am, despite how much I've been complaining about them, I am curious to try the servitors. Partially because servitors are cool. Like there's 40k is all heck, right? And the idea potentially of getting to go, well, I'm going to activate this guy, but then this guy over here who's already activated is going to do a thing, is kind of cool. But I would just say we really need to see the whole thing to really understand how useful or not useful that is. I realise it's the nature of the beast, right? They're giving us a teaser article to tease it and not to just tell us everything that's happening. But I just don't want to. And even though the purpose of this video is for me to jump to conclusions, I almost don't want to jump to too many conclusions. But I think they both feel like kind of big brain teams. And the worrying thing is with these kinds of teams, it feels like they're either going to be really, 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 really far too good or really, 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 really poor. Because either the internal difficulty of pulling off all the tricks, you know, of defeating the puzzle that is the team by itself, good players find that relatively trivial, and therefore the team with all of its things happening should necessarily then be better than a team that just does stuff, that just, you know, walks forward and shoots you twice with a bolter. Or when you play it well and do all those things, it's still not better than a more straightforward elite team, and therefore the fact that it's got so much higher cognitive load for no payoff makes it kind of bad. I don't know. We'll see. But I am curious about the servers. Servers are curious. The Raveners are interesting because you'd think, oh, well, a 5-man elite team, they're going to be pretty straightforward. They're going to run forward and kill stuff. Maybe the tunnel mechanic's a whole load of nothing, and actually they just run forward and kill stuff, and you can play them that way, and they'll do really well because they got a 7-inch move and 20 wounds. Like, it's really hard to tell with them without putting them on the table and seeing how it feels intuitively. See, I don't think I've added much value with this video, to be honest, because I don't think I've really staked a position. But there you go. That's the video. I'm not doing it now. Let me know what your thoughts are. Has anything piqued your interest? Are you really excited to try one or both of these teams, or do you think they look a bit too complicated? Tell me your hot takes. Subscribe, like, comment, etc. Consider joining the Discord. That would all be very helpful. And a big thank you to all my members, people that financially support me every single month, but especially to Sam and Alex, who are subscribed at the highest possible tier. Really appreciate that, guys. Really, really do. So, yeah, until next time, I'm going to stream tomorrow. Tomorrow's hobby stream day. Looking forward to that already. Continuing to work on those Plague Marine kill team, which is probably more my speed rather than any of the teams in this box. Right, nice, solid, standard, relatively simple to use kill team. But we'll see. We will see when the full rules come out. We should have those on Saturday, courtesy of the fellas who get the books and stuff early and read them out onto the internet. And I'll see you then. Right, bye bye, bye 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 bye.